Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Howard Bloom was our guest a few minutes ago. I'll tell you something. Howard is a great guy. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for nearly 20-some-odd years. And he is one of the straightest shooters that you will ever find when it comes to the media, space, politics, and the list goes on. Once again, his website, www.howardbloom.net, in the name of his latest book that I call the Rosetta Stone to the problems that are occurring in the Middle East right now, is called The Muhammad Code, and it is also available at howardbloom.net. Before we get to my next guest, my good old buddy, the one and only Corey K., just a reminder that The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is coming to the X Zone Broadcast Network. Check out their website at thescienceofmagic.net. That's thescienceofmagic.net for all the information pertaining to Gwilda, as well as the show that's going to be airing soon on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. Corey K. is my guest. I've had the pleasure of working with Corey as my producer for many years, but now he takes care of the X Zone Text Zone. So joining me from somewhere way in Florida is the one and only, hey, it's Corey K.
Hey, Rob. How's it going today?
It's going good, my good man. Florida is once again in the news. Apparently, a plainclothesman shot a person on the side of the road. Crap happens.
It's bad this time. It's the plainclothesmen. In this case, they ended up shooting someone who was a pretty well-respected member of the community. Yeah. But the detail we don't know is the plainclothesman said that the person was armed, and we just don't know with what.
Well, he was very well, as you said, respected member of society. He was also a drummer in a church group, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Sad news, Corey. And other news that I believe would be of interest to all our listeners in Florida is Jeb Bush, the Jeb, or just Jeb. Corey, he was the former governor of the state of Florida. And what's your feelings on his race for the Democratic or the Republican nomination for president?
We're facing an unprecedented situation right now. Just 3 or 4 months ago, he was a shoo-in. Everybody pretty much assumed that it was going to be Jeb versus Hillary in this upcoming race. And along calls Donald Trump, and people thought early on, he was a joke.
Yeah, I know. You and I were talking about that, not that long ago, a couple of months ago. And you were saying the same thing, that he's a joke, he won't last. Why do you think he's doing so well on the polls?
It could be that people are just so distrustful of established political parties and institutions that we've finally hit the breaking point, so to speak, and they will just vote for anybody but a career politician right now.
I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's just a reality TV star. He knows how to get the public's attention." Well, didn't Ronald Reagan also star in movies, and wasn't he also a great president?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was an actor, and I always think back to the scene in Back to the Future where he goes back to 1955, and he tries to tell people that in 1985 the president is Ronald Reagan, and they're like, Ronald Reagan, the actor? They didn't believe him.
Hey, speaking about Back to the Future, today is the 30th anniversary of it.
How about that?
Yeah.
I know. I found one and only one person. She's not from the U.S. originally today, who says she has never seen the movie. So we're trying to force her to watch it tonight.
I think about that would be a great idea. You know, who doesn't remember Marty McFly? You know, and Marty's father was a real. They did a great job with casting. And today I saw a commercial for a car company. And I can't remember which one it was, where Michael J. Fox was talking to Christopher Lloyd, and it was during this commercial, and it was like, wow. And you know, Michael J. Fox, life handed him a big lemon with his disease, but what's he done? He's turning it around, and you know, that shows you what kind of guy this guy is. And no matter who you talk to, or any of the reviews you read, or any of the gossip columns you've read or listened to on the air, I've never heard anybody say anything negative against Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, that's right. And you are one of those people too, Rob. And you are overcoming everything that's thrown your way. And I just had the pleasure of having a new member join my team, and he also has Parkinson's, and people were skeptical, and he's become the best new member on my team.
That's great to hear. That's truly great to hear. Speaking about your team, what is new in the world of computers?
Oh, my goodness. There is so much new. The biggest thing I would say is the analysts were handed a big surprise in the last quarter. Microsoft has outsold all of the OEMs in the last quarter for direct PC sales.
Wow.
In the past, Microsoft, they didn't make their own computers. It's just not what they did. They made the operating system, and Dell, HP, and all IBM, all the other companies, they made the computers.
Right.
Well, Microsoft tried their hand at it, and for a couple of years, people were saying, oh, it's a failed product, all of this. Not only did Microsoft outsell all of the major PC manufacturers this quarter, they outsold Apple. So
wow.
As hard as it is to believe, this product that was lambasted for a couple of years has even outsold Apple.
Do you think that they were lambasted because of their importance? Because Microsoft Windows, bang, the only system that I'm aware of that does not use Windows is Apple.
Yeah, and I think that the product that they're offering, the Surface Pro, some people saw it as not a real laptop, and definitely not a real PC, and not quite a tablet. They deliberately wanted to combine the features of all. Right. And somehow that just resonated with enough buyers that they've outsold traditional PC desktops and laptops.
Exonation, my guest this hour is the one and only Corey K, www.xzonetechzone.com. I've got to tell you, Corey, that I'm still enjoying Windows 10.
Yeah, it's a great product. I love it. The only, I guess, cautionary tale I would issue is it's better to have some sort of technical person on hand, or IT person that can help you along if trouble comes your way, because we are now starting to get reports of the problems with updates running. With any new Windows operating system, you get frequent blue screens, but that's nothing different than what we've seen with previous Windows systems. The trick is, and you won't see it for probably another few months, if you ever have any type of major failure with Windows itself, and you have to reinstall Windows 10 after having upgraded, you actually have to reinstall to the old operating system, update it, and then re-update to Windows 10, which can take quite a while. So that's the only cautionary tale, but I think as time goes on, they're going to work out the few kinks that we've seen. And if you know the right people or have the right kid down the block who has enough technical expertise, I think everyone can get through it.
Corey, what's that program or the part of Windows 10 where you can actually talk to the computer and it'll talk back to you?
That's Cortana. And if you ever want to wake up the feature, just get close to your mic, or maybe you have a good mic, and just say, "Hey, Cortana," and that'll wake up the feature. And you can actually give your computer voice commands, and it can do a lot of the work for you.
Now, is that standard with Windows 10, or is this an add-on?
It is completely standard. In fact, the official training for Windows 10 emphasized that feature very heavily. And I think in theory, this may be a little too optimistic, but in theory, if you have a problem with your Windows 10 computer, you can say, "Hey, Cortana, this isn't working," and Cortana will try to fix it for you.
Isn't that amazing? You know, I'm still waiting for that new quad. Were we talking about the quad? No, quad's already out, isn't it? The quad core?
We were talking about those quantum computers.
Right, quantum, yeah.
Yep, there's still a lot of research being done, new developments, including out of the universities. And one big powerhouse in cutting-edge computer research has been the University of Wisconsin, and they actually recently won a lawsuit. They have such a good computer engineering department that Apple saw something that they liked, and the lawsuit alleged that Apple actually lifted some of their technology, and now they have to pay up to the tune of $1 billion.
Whoa. That is a lot of money.
Not to Apple.
Not to Apple. All right, I'm not going to feel sorry for Apple anymore. Speaking about Apple, the new Jobs movie is coming out shortly.
I am looking forward to it. I really thought Ashton Kutcher did a good job with the previous movie, and I really enjoyed that one. So it's going to take a lot for them to outdo that, in my opinion.
Have you heard of any problems?
Do you like now?
What's that?
The season that we're in.
What's that?
Every 2 minutes, something's
I have no idea
happening.
what that is.
I hear you back.
Oh yeah.
It's too.
Yeah. Have you ever heard any problems with Skype ever since Microsoft took it over?
Well, I've seen it at work. Basically, they were using a service called Link, and Link, the latest version, has become Skype for Business. And we tried updating it at our place of work, and it didn't work right away. We had a few problems. If you are on a domain, which is not for the home user, that's for a typical business user,
right.
It can be a good product, but it definitely has limitations, as we found out. One problem that I have seen with Windows 10 is the Skype updates can actually fail on Windows 10, but I saw that also in Windows 8.1.
What I've been hearing is from different people who use Skype for groups, that not all of the members who are part of that group now can actually be heard, or there's a lot of drop-offs, a lot of interference, and I never heard any of these complaints prior to the purchase of Skype by Microsoft.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's definitely something going on there. I've heard plenty of Windows-related reports there. It's still pretty amazing what you can do with it, but there are problems, and if you're having problems with Skype, you can even post your problem on the X Zone Tech Zone forums, and we'll see if we can figure something out.
Corey, have you heard any more horror stories about hacking going on?
You know, it seems like it died down. Now, this isn't to say that there are not hacks going on, but every year seems to have a news cycle, and it seems like 2014 and early 2015, it seemed like it was the year of the cyber attack, and it's calmed down a little bit. The scary part about this is not just the thought that it's the end of a news cycle, but actually the thought that this has become so normal that maybe it doesn't shock us anymore. Already it doesn't shock us anymore.
What do you think is going to happen when the new president comes in? Do you think that we're still going to see the problems because of the TIF, or are we going to see the same problems that we're having with the hacking from countries outside of the United States who seem to have a thrill of hacking the systems?
Actually, that is going to be the tricky part. Mm-hmm. I invite anybody who disagrees with me, but I think if we get somebody like Donald Trump, if he actually goes all the way and wins this thing, part of me thinks he's going to play up a little bit on isolationist fears. There's always a segment of the population who's a little isolationist, and I don't think he will be eager to build international treaties to fight cyber attacks. I just don't think he will. I could be wrong with his business experience. You know, maybe he's the perfect person. Maybe he's already a global thinker, and somehow it will be easier. But I do think that if Hillary gets elected somehow, with all of her international connections and just her diplomatic history as Secretary of State, I think that she would be a strong person to help forge those international alliances that we need to combat cyber attacking. So I think it's definitely going to be on the agenda. We'll just see how it plays out.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow when she's in front of the Benghazi House Committee.
Oh, yeah. Now, we'll see. With the Benghazi affair, I think that a lot is being made out of nothing, but we'll see what happens there. Actually, you guys had elections here recently, and
yes, we had elections on Monday. Our sitting government was headed by, or still is headed until I believe it's November the 11th or the 4th, by Prime Minister Stephen Harper, who had been at the helm of Canada for 10 years. He was rivaled by Mr. Mulcair, who was the leader of the New Democratic Party. And then the third contender, who was number 3 on the list, the son of one of our great prime ministers, Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau, his son Justin, in a surprising landslide victory on Monday night, the Liberals swept back into power with a majority government. And it was like, holy cow, I was watching the results as I was doing the show, and when I saw 33 seats go to the Maritimes, 33 out of 33 went Liberal. The writing was on the wall that the Liberals would take over. However, there are a number of things that I am not happy with our new Prime Minister to be. Number one, he is pulling out the airstrikes from the Middle East, or CF-18s. And the Kurdish army, or the Kurdish organization, is not very happy about this. He's also budgeting $250 million, I believe, to update the immigration system to allow more immigrants into Canada faster. And he's increased the number of immigrants from Syria up to 25,000. So already he's hitting a pretty sore chord with a lot of Canadians, and he hasn't been sworn in yet.
Now, maybe it was just the pictures I saw, but he seems like he's a pretty young guy.
He is. He's 43 years old. He is for the legalization of marijuana. It's going to be very hard for him to follow in his father's footsteps. His father was very flamboyant. I had the pleasure of meeting his dad a number of times. It was Pierre Elliott Trudeau who brought back the Canadian Charter back to Canada from England, from Her Majesty. He stood up in the face of danger during the FLQ crisis that we had in Quebec. That's where Quebec, a certain faction of Quebec, wanted to separate Quebec from the rest of Canada, and having a distinct society or its own country. At the time, Charles de Gaulle, the president of France, was really stoking the political fires. And in fact, during one of the rallies, Charles de Gaulle said, "Vive la France, vive le Québécois." Long live France and long live the separation of Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
So we had that. That was playing politics against politics, so to speak. But during one of the rallies, Pierre Elliott Trudeau was sitting in a grandstand in front of Montreal City Hall when the protesters started throwing rocks and debris at the Prime Minister. Immediately, the RCMP covered up the Prime Minister to protect him, but what he did was he pushed the RCMP away and stood up, as much as to say, "You want me? Come and get me."
Wow.
Yeah. And during the FLQ crisis, he brought in the War Measures Act, which meant the police and the military had sweeping powers. The military had the same authority as the police at that time. There was no reasonable and probable grounds required to make an arrest. So, basically, Canada was at war with Quebec. Not the entire province of Quebec, but the faction of the Quebecers who had bombed post mailboxes. They kidnapped the British ambassador or the British envoy to Canada, James Cross. They kidnapped and killed a member of the Quebec government, Pierre Laporte. It was chaos. Downtown Montreal, there were military. The military was visible. Tanks, jeeps, soldiers bearing arms. After a while, it became the norm. But
it seems like at that time, something like that was sweeping the Western world. You had, I believe in Germany, you had the Baader-Meinhof group,
yes.
And they were carrying out bombings, and in the U.S. you had the Weathermen, and they were doing that. And actually, the Weathermen, believe it or not, I only found out about secondhand because I was born so close to events that people at the time, they had a need to talk about that. But so I had to find out about all that secondhand.
Yeah, they were strange times. But you know what? Thanks to the bravery and the leadership ability of Pierre Elliott Trudeau and his cabinet and the members of every police force and the Canadian Armed Forces, to my recollection, there was only one fatality, and that was with Pierre Laporte, who was part of the Quebec government at the time. James Cross was released and reunited with his family. So, I've got a lot of respect for Pierre Elliott Trudeau. He was very flamboyant. He's best known for his fuddle-duddle statement. And it'll be interesting to see what his son does. So far, he hasn't even been sworn in, and he's got Canadians wondering if they should have voted for him.
It is weird. In the last couple of months, or really in the last month even, it seems like the whole world has gone crazy, and you have that going on. But I believe it's in Hungary. They sealed off the border with Croatia because they're trying to, stem the flow of migrants, including migrants from Syria. You have Russia. Actually, here's something that I don't think is openly talked about, but Russia on the surface is trying to help the Syrian regime to fight the Islamic State.
Right.
But based on Russia's recent history in the last few decades, it almost sounds like they're making a move to annex Syria.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, because one of, I believe it's the only seaport that Russia has on the Mediterranean is in Syria. And Assad was with Putin today in Russia. So, strange times, my good friend, strange times. Hey, but I've got to tell you a conspiracy that I'm working on, or a cover-up.
I'm ready for it.
All right. The O-ring that was responsible for the explosion and going back to the Space Challenger, the Shuttle Challenger, was made by the FLDS.
Wow.
In fact,
I'm going to have to digest that.
Yeah. In fact, NASA asked this person if they'd like to form a company and supply NASA with O-rings, because that's how good these O-rings were. And it was and the money that was paid for the O-rings that NASA used went directly into the FLDS.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, you have my curiosity stoked now. I'm going to, after the show here, I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit.
What I'll do is I'll send you the names of the parties, and I should have the interviews available as well very shortly. It's very interesting. It ties into it also ties into child labor. It ties into rape. It ties into polygamy. It's just far-reaching.
Wow.
And
we'll have to check that out.
People say, well, what's that got to do with the paranormal, Rob? Well, we talk about other government conspiracies and cover-ups. Why not talk about this? Because a number of people lost their lives because of that O-ring.
Yeah.
Here's the real kicker. One of my sources claims, and this is a source very close to the entire story, that the O-rings were being made in a person's kitchen.
What?
Yep. Now,
Wow.
I find that a little hard to believe myself, but we're checking it out, and this person is staying by his affidavit that he sent us.
Yeah, we're really going to have to see that. Speaking of conspiracy theorists, there is somebody that we had on the show a long time ago, and I'll email you as soon as I remember his name. Just escapes me right now, but we had two people on the show, and they both were ex-CIA operatives, and they had competing theories of how Al-Qaeda would carry out an attack within the United States. And they had just wildly different theories and competing intelligence on how this would happen. Well, one of those guests is frequently a guest on Fox News, and it has been discovered pretty recently that he actually did not work for the CIA. He was basically making the whole thing up. So I'll send you his name when I find it. But
oh, please do. Because what we'll have to do is we'll have to find one of the interviews, play it, and then you and I will just blast it.
There you go.
Yeah. Speaking about that, buddy, you know Michael Horn?
I do.
Stanton Friedman?
Yeah.
We had a debate going back to September 30th?
Yep.
We're having a rematch Wednesday, November the 11th.
11/11.
11/11. Now, wasn't that strategic of me? Nobody picked that up except you. Congratulations. You win the Booby Prize. Can we get some music prize something for Corey over here, guys? Let's hear it. There you go, Corey. There's your prize horn.
Woohoo.
Now you can have what's behind curtain number 1, curtain number 2, or curtain number 3.
Let's pick curtain number 2.
And for you, Corey, behind curtain number 2 is an all-expense-paid trip to your front door. On the way, you'll be able to pet the cats. You'll be able to look at your computer, and you'll be able to see the love of your life as she figures, what the hell is Rob got Corey doing now?
How appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh, and on the way to the front door, I get to pass by my new Fender Stratocaster.
You got it.
I got a Fender Stratocaster.
Congratulations, bud.
My first Strat.
Wow. Good for you. They're beautiful guitars.
My fingers are leathery already.
Really?
Yeah.
And you haven't even played the guitar yet, huh?
I knew that was coming.
I know. You know me too well. Exonation, Corey K is our guest this hour, www.exonetechzone.com. Corey, with Halloween coming, what are your, do people in Florida and the United States really get hyped up for Halloween? Like over here, we have people who have made graveyards in their front yards, and they have witches hanging all over the place, pumpkins as far as the eye can see. You know?
It is. We absolutely get excited, but I can kind of tell you about the history. When I was a kid, just throngs and throngs of kids would go door to door. We would go by ourselves. Our parents would be at home to hand out candy to the other trick-or-treaters. And our strength in numbers was just the other kids. And everything was fine. And people just, because of rising crime in the 80s and early 90s, people just got more and more frightened. And kids had to go out supervised, and it just really changed. You didn't see as much, and the place I'm at now, it seems so dark and scary. I don't think any kids will come on our door. We haven't had anybody in a few years, but here's the big shocker here.
Okay.
We're having an event at work, a trick-or-treating event. It's a family event, and we're giving out candy in our trunk. But one thing that they told us explicitly, they said, we can't bring any unwrapped or homemade candy. Mm-hmm. It's a total liability. Wow. And people are afraid that you'll poison the candy or make bad food.
Well, we've heard stories where people were putting razor blades into apples and giving these apples out. And there was another guy that was arrested for injecting vodka into oranges.
Oh, my.
Then there was another guy who was arrested for doing little bags of ecstasy and dropping it in the kids. Come on, this is ridiculous. And you've got to say, where are the brains of people,
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
No, we used to go out like you did in a little pack. Mind you, there was always an adult within earshot. And I can never remember anything that happened bad at Halloween. I remember the great fun we used to have in school, cutting out pumpkins and witches' hats and the rest of it. And, Mom and Dad would go through the candy that we did bring home to make sure it was safe for us.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember the tummy aches from eating too much candy.
Well, as I said earlier tonight, Corey, I believe that there's another conspiracy cover-up here. Okay. I believe the Dental Association in Canada and the United States are behind Halloween.
That's right. Get us to eat the candy, and then we'll come in for a visit.
That's right. So, Craig just passed me a note over here. Oh, Craig wants to know what your feelings are with what's happening to Fiorina, because wasn't she one of the chairperson of Hewlett Packard? Yeah,
she is. And my personal feeling is she didn't really have a good chance of winning this thing. It's not surprising to me that she dropped out. There has always, as far as I've known, there's always been this either hidden or not so hidden link between high levels of government and major corporations. I think that it was more sinister.
Right.
During the Clinton administration, we had a lot of people that were tied to Verizon and Bank of America. And when the recession hit a few years ago, I felt that Verizon and Bank of America, they should have been treated at least as harshly as the average bank or telecom company. And instead, mergers between other companies got blocked and they got a pass. So that's not just my conspiracy theory. I think there's some real meat there. I feel that Bank of America has profited from its political connections, and so has Verizon. I don't know what HP would have gotten out of the deal, but I just didn't think she had a chance. But then again, I didn't think Trump had much of a chance either, and here we are.
Well, you know, I watched the Democratic and Republican debates, and when I saw Fiorina, something about her just turned me off. It was like, now I understand what Donald Trump was saying about her face, because I'm telling you, I saw that lady and I listened to her and it was like, oh my God, no way. And then I was really surprised when she went up in the polls, but I wasn't surprised to see her go down in the polls.
No, not at all. I personally have never felt she was a likable person. I think she wanted to give it a shot because there is the Sarah Palin soccer mom constituency that possibly would have gone for her, but no, actually, man, a lot of people have come and gone already, and I just don't know if it's going to be Jeb versus Hillary. I think the Trumpster might ride this one all the way.
I think that it's going to be Trump versus Sanders.
And that's, I'm glad you bring him up. What people seem to be saying, as far as I can tell, is that people who would normally vote Republican don't feel that their candidates are right enough, and and Democrats feel that their candidates are not left enough, except for Sanders. So, you know, people like Sanders have it. You know, they might have a chance. We'll see what happens.
Did you watch SNL this past week when Larry David portrayed Bernie Sanders?
I religiously watched that show, and somehow I missed it this last weekend, and people at work have been telling me about it. It's probably the most talked about Saturday Night Live episode I've heard about in a while, and maybe I'll watch it after we're done with the show here.
You know, because we are so close to Halloween, Corey, I thought I'd share with you and the X-Zone Nation some amazing facts I found out about candy. And this is why I really believe that Canadian and American dentists are behind Halloween. And here's an example. Did you know that Americans purchase nearly 600 million pounds of candy a year just for Halloween? Now, you may say, well, what does that look like? Just imagine 16 billion fun-sized Snicker bars or 158 trillion individual candy corns.
Oh, my.
Here we go, another very amazing statistic, which, by the way, all these will be in the October issue of the X-Chronicles newspaper. A whopping 90 million pounds of chocolate candy is sold during the Halloween week, taking a strong lead compared to other holidays. Almost 65 million pounds is sold during the week leading up to Easter, and only 48 million pounds during Valentine's week. So I guess you have to ask, so how do these other holidays, or how can they compete? Halloween is the only time of the year where the sweet stuff is given away by the handfuls, and left in bowls on people's doorsteps, free for the taking.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go one more. Over 10% of annual candy sales happen the days leading up to Halloween. That is, are you ready for this? Nearly $2 billion in sales. That's U.S. dollars, yeah. Chocolate is clearly the preferred choice of sweets for many. Of the 1.9 billion sold in Halloween candy each year, 1.2 billion was on chocolate candy, and only $680 million on sugar candy.
Huh.
Top selling candy is candy corn. Americans purchase over 20 million pounds of it a year, though it is unlikely that every last one of those millions of candies was actually consumed. That's a lot of candy.
That is.
And chocolate sellers, after the beloved candy corn, the leading bestsellers are as follows: Snickers, Reese's, Kit Kat, and M&M's.
Kit Kat.
Yeah. Candy corn is the most searched for candy term in Google. More popular than candy apples, gummy worms, and candy pumpkins. Search for candy corn are up 10% from October 2010.
Ooh.
Okay, who loves candy? Well, out of all 50 states, Alabama searched for candy.com the most. Candy corn, I'm sorry. I can't even read my... Alabama. Okay, let's see. What else did we put in that article? All right, here's a question, Corey. Which state searched the most for organic candy?
Organic candy. I'm going to say California.
You're close, my friend. Actually, Colorado. Oregon searched the most for gluten-free candy, and Kentucky took the lead in sugar-free candy.
Really? That really surprises me.
Now, I didn't know that there was gluten-free candy. So I checked it out, and the Halloween, this Halloween, more people are searching for gluten-free candy than any other Halloween before.
That I do believe.
Yeah. And the ultimate candy day, the day of the year with most candy sales, October 28th. And of all of the other 365 days in the year, the top 5 candy selling days are all in, guess which months?
November?
October.
Ah. Well, that makes sense. You would think that people would go for those post-Halloween sales in November, but a lot of times they don't.
Yeah, and it's not cheap anymore to buy candies and give them away. Like, I think we've spent nearly $50 or $60 on candy to give away at Halloween. So what I'm going to do this year is I'm going to be sitting outside, since it's a Saturday, and I've got a head mask, a complete head mask, and I'm going to get some other clothes, a pair of suspenders, and make myself look like an old man. And well, I am an old man, come to think of it. Anyway, an older man than I am. And I'm going to sit there, and I've already produced a Halloween tape. Now, I've attached a sensor to the trigger, so that when a kid or a group of kids walk through the beam, it starts this creepy music. And that is my cue to let me know where the kids are. And as soon as they get in front of me to knock on the door, I'm going to go... That's going to be my fun for Halloween. But pumpkins. Have you seen the pumpkins this year? There are black pumpkins. There are white pumpkins. Pumpkins that look like they're inundated with warts. And then the regular old orange pumpkins.
If I could keep pumpkins and gourds in my house all year without them going bad, I would. And you might say to yourself, why not get plastic gourds? But they're just not the same.
Yeah, it's true. It's like kind of having an artificial Christmas tree in your house at Christmas.
Yeah. It's just not the same at all. you shouldn't have shared all those chocolate stats with me, because I have this bag of Dove chocolates right here, right within reach.
Well, I know what you're going to be doing after this segment. Corey's in the chocolates. Corey's in the chocolates. Corey, one of the we got an email a couple of weeks ago from this listener who used to listen to us when you used to be the producer, and they asked me to ask you the next time you were here on the show what your most memorable guest memory was.
Oh boy, there were so many, but
so give us your top three.
Top three. I think the guy who wanted to have us make lemonades. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, and he told us to all break out our lemons, and you didn't even bat an eye. You broke out the virtual lemon, and we all sucked on lemons. that segment.
Oh yeah!
So that was a good one. I like having Wayne Marin on the show, and I like having Dr. Leonard Ghostwolf on the show.
Dr. Robert Ghostwolf.
Robert Ghostwolf, yeah, that's it.
And unfortunately, he died a number of years ago. He was a great guy. We had so many guests. And the nice part is we're continuing. Here we are. We started with Talkstar, I think it was 2004. 2004, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
And, the X Zone started going back to 1992, and we're still going. Did anything happen during the show that made you change any of your thoughts that you may have had on the paranormal or parapsychology?
You know, it was a real eye-opener for me, this whole show, because when I was younger, more people were interested in UFOs, so I had heard about that, but I didn't realize that there were so many active ghost hunters. I had not run into that many shamans, and I liked hearing what they had to say. What else? The crystal skulls. I had no idea that crystal skulls were a thing before the show, so it opened my eyes to really a lot. And I was really intrigued that so many people bought books on the paranormal, way more than I ever would have imagined.
Yeah. You know what really drives me around the bend still, Corey, after all these years, is when I get somebody on the show talking about ghosts, and I ask them why ghosts hang around. And you get a variance of answers, but the one answer that drives me around the bend is when they say, well, the ghost doesn't know it's dead.
Yeah.
How in the hell can you know you're not dead? Like, you're not hungry, you wear the same clothes 7/24, 365, everybody's ignoring you. Like, you don't feel anything, you can't touch anything. Like, hello.
Yeah, you'd think if you pass on to another dimension that you would, on some level, you would be aware.
You would think, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem to work that way. And why do they call it ghost hunting? Because when you hunt something, you're going to capture it or kill it. And a ghost is already dead, so what are you going to do with it? You can't capture it, so why do they call it ghost hunting?
Yeah, why is that? Yeah, it's like this. There are one set of rules that apply to the material world, and I think each dimension has its own set of rules. Yeah. And at least as so far as I can see, it's hard to see them interacting. Maybe that's an area for future research, but right now you'd pass right through.
It's true, really. One of the most bizarre guests I ever had on the show was the lady who had her psychic goat. Now, at the time, you were off that night or something, but Ed Shiflett was producing. You know Ed, you know his sense of humor. Here I am with this lady, and I'm biting my tongue because I just want to have fun. You've got a psychic goat. Well, when somebody asks your go-to question and it's not very good news, do they say no? It's bad news. Stuff like this. And Ed is just howling on the other side. Laughing in my ear. And here I've got the guest. I'm trying to be a little serious with the guest, and every time her goat would go bah, like the goat was living with her in her apartment.
Man,
she was one off the wall. And then the guy who wanted to sell hats made out of tin foil, so the aliens couldn't probe your mind.
Oh,
then there was the guy who made a UFO force field using a car battery and red lights and wire bought at Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know who else was really good? Cass Ingram.
Oh yeah, he's still around. Yeah, he's still around. Do you remember Patrick Cook?
Yeah.
He passed away.
Oh, I had not heard that.
Yeah, I was very sad to hear that, because Patrick Cook, who used to do BibleUFO.com, a great guy. He has the same. He had a bone of contention with the prophet Yahweh. And
that was a big story back then.
Prophet Yahweh has not been heard or seen lately, so I guess the aliens finally got him.
That's right. What did happen to him?
Yeah. But anyway, Corey, a lot of good memories with you, my friend, as my producer, and it's always great having you on the show. It brings back old memories, and old memories are good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had a good time the time that we went down to Titusville and did the show from the WPGF studios. That was cool.
Oh, it was great to meet you in person.
We had a good time that weekend. And, now here you are, the X Zone Tech Zone.
Booyah.
Booyah. All right, Corey, my friend, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and to let the listeners know how they can get a hold of you and leave you some notes.
You can go to www.xzonetechzone.com for all your technical questions and beyond.
Corey, take care of yourself. Give my very best to Chance, and, of course, to the lovely Lynn.
Thank you so much.
Take care, my friend. Well, that's it for tonight, X Zone Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. At 8 o'clock. As once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. From everyone here at the X Zone Radio TV show, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, and all our guests, have a safe evening